All right, let's dive right in. We're going on a pretty fascinating journey today, a journey inward. We're going to peel back the layers of who we think we are to tackle one of the oldest and biggest questions in human history. So, who are you? I mean, really. Not your name, not your job, not the roles you play for your family or friends. When you strip all those temporary labels away, what's actually left? This isn't just a fun philosophical game. This is the central question of our lives. And a lot of ancient wisdom says our biggest problems start when we get the answer to this question wrong. And the starting point for all of this is a concept called avidya. You can think of it as a kind of spiritual ignorance, or maybe like a veil that clouds our vision. It's this deep, fundamental confusion that makes us believe we are the parts of us that are always changing, our body, our thoughts, our feelings, instead of the part of us that is constant and never changes. This idea is absolutely central to everything we're about to explore. So let's start with what we usually mean when we say I. The I that gets happy, the I that feels stressed, the I that's just trying to get through the day. In this framework, that's called the jiva. It's the individual you, and it's not just one single thing. It's actually made up of several different layers or bodies. So the jiva, this individual self, operates through three distinct bodies. First, you've got the gross body. That's your physical self, the part you see in the mirror. Then there's the subtle body. This is your mind, your intellect, your ego. And finally, the deepest layer is the causal body, which is kind of like the seed or the blueprint for the other two. All three of these together create the vehicle we use to experience life. Now, here's where it gets really cool, because this isn't just abstract theory. This whole framework maps perfectly onto your daily life. When you're awake, in the waking state, your gross body is in charge, right? You're out there in the physical world. But when you fall asleep and start dreaming, your subtle body takes over, creating these incredible, vivid worlds purely from thought. And then, in that deep, dreamless sleep, that's the causal body. It's just a state of pure potential, the unmanifest source of everything else. We literally cycle through all three of these states every single night. So if the jiva and its three bodies are always shifting, from waking to dreaming to deep sleep, is there anything that stays the same? Anything that's constant through it all? Well, the answer is a huge yes. Beyond the jiva, there is the atma. This is our true, unchanging self. There's this beautiful metaphor from the Upanishads that just perfectly captures the difference between the jiva and the atma. Picture a tree, and on this tree there are two birds. One bird is super busy, flitting about, eating all the fruits. Some are sweet, some are bitter. The second bird, though, it just sits there, calmly observing everything, completely uninvolved. And this lays it all out, doesn't it? The bird that's eating the fruit, that's the jiva. That's us as individuals, caught up in the drama of life, the good stuff and the bad. It's the part that acts, reacts, and totally forgets what it really is. But that other bird, the one that just watches, that's the atma. It's the silent, eternal witness, pure consciousness, totally untouched by whatever's happening on the tree. That is the real you. So the atma isn't a thing you can find. It's pure consciousness. It's timeless. It's often called a sakshi, which means a neutral witness to everything. It's the life force in you, but it's not the doer of your actions. And you can't see it or grab it or even really think about it, because it's the very thing that is doing the seeing and the thinking in the first place. It's the true I beyond the body and the mind. So if we have these two parts, where does all the trouble come from? Well, it all comes back to avidya, that veil of ignorance. The entire human struggle, from this perspective, comes from one simple but huge mistake. We confuse the two birds. We forget we're the calm observer, and we believe we are only the frantic bird eating the fruit. Let me give you a more modern way to think about it. Imagine your atma, your true self, is a giant, blank white cinema screen. It's just there, pure, empty, and completely unaffected by anything. Okay, so you have the screen. Now, the movie being projected onto it, that's your life. The whole drama, the action scenes, the comedies, the tragedies, every thought, every feeling, every win, every loss, it's all just part of the movie flickering across that screen. And here is the punchline. Avidya is when you get so lost in the movie that you completely forget you're the screen. You start to believe you are the character up there. You get hurt when they get hurt, you cheer when they win. You've identified with the temporary flickering story, instead of the permanent, stable background that allows the story to be seen at all. The specific mechanism in our minds that causes this is called ahankar, or the ego. It's that sense of I-ness, that little voice that points to the movie and says, "That's me, that's my story." You can think of it as the knot that incorrectly ties our pure consciousness, the Atma, to the ever-changing character, the Jiva. Okay, so this is a really cool way to think about things, but so what? Why does any of this matter in your day-to-day life? Well, because getting this distinction isn't just a mental game. It's the key to a completely different way of living. It literally changes everything. One of the classic ways to start seeing this for yourself is a practice called neti neti. It just means not this, not this. It's a process of elimination. You look at your body and realize, I have a body, but I am not my body. You watch a thought fly by and realize I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. By saying not this to everything that comes and goes, you start to get a feeling for what's left, the part that doesn't change, the witness. And what's the result of all this? Well, look at the difference. A life lived with avidya, with ignorance, means your whole sense of self is tied to things that are shaky and temporary. Your body, your job, your reputation. And that just leads to fear and suffering. But a life lived with vidya, with clarity, your identity rests in that unchanging, peaceful Atma. And that leads to a deep sense of freedom, resilience, and an inner peace that nothing can really shake. And this brings us to what might be the most powerful idea of all. This journey isn't about becoming something you're not. It's not about self-improvement. As this quote says so beautifully, the jiva, the individual you, is already divine at its core. The only job is to remove that veil of ignorance, to lift the avidya, and simply realize the incredible truth of what you have been all along. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. If you really are the screen and not the movie, if you are the silent witness and not the bird caught up in the fruit, what actually happens in your life when you stop identifying with all the drama and just watch?